76ers get dismantled by Oklahoma City's Thunder backups. We will touch on it right here and break it all down on Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On 76ers. We're your host, Keith Pompey, 76ers beat writer. I'm Kayla Santiago, sideline reporter for the Delaware Blue Coats, the NBA G League affiliate of the Philadelphia 76ers. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, in addition to wherever you listen to your podcast. And of course, you can check us out on the free daily newsletter on lockedondaily.com. And today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Keith, let's get into it. Sixers lose by 33 to the Thunder's backups. They just dominated Philadelphia.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, the funny thing is, not funny, but I mean, their backup players are actual NBA players. And I'm not making a knock at the 76ers players, but you know, the 76ers had 9 guys who played. 3 of them are on two-way deals. 2 of them are on 10-day contracts from the G League. One guy, the starting point guard, was a two-way guy until he got traded. You know, Justin Edwards was a two-way guy until he got converted. You know what I mean? So when we look at it, and Gerson Yabusele was the only guy who was in the rotation at the beginning of the season. So you look at it as you had Quentin Grimes and the Miracles, right? That's basically what you had. And the thing is, you know, you didn't expect it to be as ugly as it was early, like 10-0, 17-3. But you looked at it and you saw one team that had quality NBA players, another team with a bunch of fringe guys trying to make a showing to make it to the NBA. But, you know, it was just a total dismantling.
It really was. And if we look at some numbers here too, Jaylin Williams, he started for the Thunder last night. He had a career high in 19 points in addition to 17 boards, a triple-double as well, 11 assists. Chad Holmgren added with 19, former Blue Coat and 76er Isaiah Joe, 21 points. And the biggest thing for the 76ers too, they were just kind of flinging it up there as well. They had 57 three-point attempts, the most this season, only making 18 of them. Keith, they were trying to do a little bit of everything to come back in this game, but the Thunder just had complete control from the minute it really tipped off from when I looked at it.
Yeah, and you look at it like, you know, Ricky Council, you know, he was a guy we've been talking about for a while. When is he going to step up? He stepped up the previous 2 games, but in this game, it just wasn't a good showing for him. He had 4 points on 1 for 11 shooting. He was 0 for 8 on threes. He was a negative 21. And then, you know, you look at Alex Reese. You know, he's a guy who's been, you know, a little steady. You know, he had 11 points, but he was a negative 30, a minus 30, a game worse, right? You know, O'Shea Brissett, you know, he's a guy that had an okay game the last time. He was 0 points, 0 for 4 shooting. And Jared Butler, you know, he didn't really do much either. He had 7 points. He had 7 points, 4 assists, and he shot 3 for 13, 1 for 8 on threes. So, you know, those are, you know, 3 of the guys who struggled the most. But, I mean, there was a lot of them. But, you know, these guys were guys that they needed to depend on for them to make it close, and they didn't come close to having quality performances.
That they didn't. And as soon as I saw the injury report before the game, of course, this was put out way before, really, when you look at it from that standpoint. You see Shai Gilgeous-Alexander out of the game, Isaiah Hartenstein, Lou Dort, and the other Jaylin Williams. I didn't think the 76ers still had a chance. I think OKC, clearly they are a really good team in the Western Conference. But I was saying, oh boy, they're trying to stop the 76ers from tanking right now. But they go out there, they perform, and they have a big game. And somebody that you've been high on, we could say, Keith, was Okeke, who on the positive side, had a pretty decent game for Philadelphia. He had 11 rebounds in the first half, finished with a double-double. Now, once again, it wasn't the 76ers night. It hasn't been for quite some time. They couldn't compete like they did against the Rockets, but he's somebody that continues to try to push in there where he can find some bright spots, even in a game where it was them getting absolutely dominated.
Yeah, he was the bright spot, because even though, we look at Quentin Grimes, he had 28 points, but 17 of those points came in the first half. In the third, he didn't do much of anything. When the game was out of hand, he's got a couple layups, hit a three here and there in the fourth quarter. But Okeke, he was a guy who had 14 points, 15 rebounds, 2 assists, a block. He played well. To a point where you felt like, he was 4 for 5 on threes. He played to a point where you felt like, you know what? Let's see if this guy is going to get a little bit more burn. Now, he did play 37 minutes, but there was a time when you're like, hey, I think maybe they need to keep him in a little bit longer. Although that was the most minutes in the game, but it's just that I felt like he warranted to continue to play just because how good he was. A lot of guys were just struggling out there. But to me, like we talked about before, this is all about putting stuff on film, showing teams what you can do. Because after his 10 days up, he's going to have to go back down to the G League, or his season is going to be over if the G League season is over. So, he's a guy that, that probably could come back and be in their training camp next year, or be on the G League, or be on their summer league team for him.
And it's interesting, too. I really liked how he performed last night. But you look at Quentin Grimes' numbers, and for people that might have not watched the game, you might say, oh, another Quentin Grimes, really good performance. But you're right. It was kind of in garbage time. It was actually one of, I don't want to say worse, but it was not one of his great performances. He wasn't getting going and clicking like he's been able to in these last few games, really until the end when it didn't matter. The game was super out of reach for Philadelphia. So once again, they fall 133-100. In addition to the 76ers made threes, attempts, I should say. I said that was a season high. It's actually a franchise history set high, 57 threes attempted. In addition, Keith, 109 three-pointers throughout the entire game. And when you look at it for the Oklahoma City Thunder, clearly they were the better of the team last night. They were 24 for 52. Philadelphia, 18 for 57. So not a super hot three-point shooting night for either side, but definitely better, of course, for the Thunder as well. That's a lot of threes that they're chucking up there. And Philadelphia just trying to make anything happen in that game. And it was tough to watch. It felt like they were almost kind of soulless out there. Like they didn't have a lot to give. And, they go up against a Thunder team that's down, but these guys are still playing and still get time in that regular rotation for OKC too.
Yeah, but you know what? The thing is, let's be real. This team was, they had 10 guys sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
And all 10 of these guys sitting on the bench, I shouldn't say all 10. There was only one guy or two guys out there that would have been on the regular team. Like, Quentin Grimes is a newcomer, so he's he's in the rotation. Yabu is in the rotation. But aside from that, they didn't have it. This is a smaller team. They lit it up shooting the ball against the Houston Rockets. And let's face it, the roster that they have now, this makeshift roster, was constructed to lose games. So the only thing that they could do to keep them in the game that they felt like was making threes. And unfortunately for them, they struggled. But, to me, this game just shows you how good Oklahoma City is.
Good point,
because when you look at it, Chet Holmgren was the only guy who starts for them, the only one, and he's been starting at power forward, right? So, and he ended up with 19 points on 6 for 11 shooting in 23 minutes. The rest of these guys were like guys who come off the bench, and they fulfill roles, but they come off the bench, and so it just tells you how good they are. And like I said before, it's the difference between actual NBA players and fringe NBA players.
I want to continue on this a little too on the other side when we come back right here on Locked On 76ers, because you raise a really great point. And those are players that this team is going to need going into the postseason, into that Western Conference play and their eventual goals if they can get to the NBA Finals. So we'll put a pin in that in just a moment, and we'll be right back here on Locked On 76ers. And we do have to tell you about Robinhood. With Robinhood Gold, you can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. The privileges of the very privileged are no longer exclusive. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted 3%. Plus, you also get 4% APY on your cash in non-retirement accounts. That's over 8 times the national savings average. The perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth as well. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold to receive your 3% boost on annual IRA contributions. Sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate subject to change. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 a month for 1 year from your first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Over 8 times the national average savings account. Interest rate claim is based on data FDIC as of November 18th, 2024. That's Robinhood Financial LLC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. And there's nothing like watching a basketball game live. I absolutely love it at any level, whether it's college, the big tournaments coming up, in addition to an NBA playoffs are right around the corner too. There is nothing better than being able to see it in real time, real action, and have that atmosphere. The energy of the crowd, the sound of sneakers on the hardwood, and maybe even a celebrity sighting courtside. If you want to catch a game in person, GameTime makes getting tickets easier than ever. GameTime's new feature, GameTime Picks, filters out the fluff and shows you only the best deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time scrolling through thousands of tickets. Easy ticket shopping. I just checked the GameTime app, and they are amazing deals on some huge matchups coming up. Super deals, GameTime Picks, even highlight super deals, giving you the best bang for your buck. And this is huge, especially if you're looking to go with a group of people or just you and somebody else. You're trying to save a little bit of money, but want to really get the best offer possible for where you want to go and have that experience. GameTime is the place to go. Peace of mind with CPUs before you buy, no surprise fees, and a lowest price guarantee. You can book with total confidence. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime Picks. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code. This time you can use Locked On NBA. That's LOCKEDON NBA for $20 off. Download GameTime today, because what time is it? It is game time. All right, so I want to continue with the Thunder a little bit before we roll back into 76ers, because this is the Thunder team that really did it right in terms of rebuilding, getting their team together, and being able to have this squad that has completely just taken over the Western Conference this year. I mean, the Rockets and the Nuggets really aren't even close at this point right now in terms of looking at it. Now there's still time left in the season, but 57 wins, 12 losses on the year. They're number one in the Western Conference. And Keith, I know we don't love to look at predictions, but where do you feel OKC will fall in the postseason? Because yes, last night it was against the Sixers, and I get that their bench was against the Sixers and Western Conference teams will be tougher, but the Rockets struggled against Philadelphia. And OKC showed that they had the depth in their bench to dismantle Philadelphia. So that's definitely something that I think with the Thunder, you can kind of look on the bright side of seeing how your bench perform, because you never know when you're going to need that in the postseason as well.
Yeah, but I also think if OKC played the Sixers first and the Rockets played them second, it probably would have been the same. And what I mean by that is, I mean, you look at it. You're the Rockets. Philadelphia comes to town. There's no Tyrese Maxey. There's no Joel Embiid. There's no Paul George. There's no backups. And you have this team coming. And your coach is trying to tell you, look, fellas, they're going to come out and hard to play. So you look at it, and you're kind of sort of like, nah. And not only that, it was their starters too. So they're like kind of like chill mode, relax. We could go through the motions,
Laying
go
down,
to the party afterwards, the whole nine. Yeah, mom and everybody's in the stands. Well, tonight it was kind of like there was guys from OK. First of all, OKC saw how the Rockets barely beat them. And then secondly, it was a lot of guys who were basically saying, you know what, I'm trying to impress the coach so I can be in this playoff rotation. So when you factor all that in, it's kind of like, you expected the beatdown to come, right? Because you did. They also have a scouting report now on some of these guys. So they basically took them out the game. Here's the thing. OKC is a great regular season team. They play well. They do a lot of other things. But last year in the playoffs, they looked like they were a little bit young and inexperienced. What's going to have to happen is and then here's another thing. Some of those other teams, like we look at the Lakers, they improved. You look at the Denver Nuggets, they're like a team like the Boston Celtics, where they get a little bit bored at times in the regular season. So to me, I think that they're going to be good, OKC. I just want to know how are they going to be able to match up in a 7-game series against the Denver Nuggets or something like that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. When you have Nikola Jokic. So like, I like what I see. I just think that we're just going to have to see a lot more from Chet Holmgren when he gets in the playoffs. He's going to have to be able to be that X factor. I don't know if they're going to come out of the West, but they look great right now because they were the number 1 seed last year as well.
Mm-hmm,
so you know what I'm saying? So I like what I see, but they're still a young team, and I still think that who's going to be able to guard the Joker? Who's going to be able to guard Luka and LeBron? Those are my questions and my concerns.
I'm really curious, too, about the Lakers because you look at LeBron James right now. How much time does he really have left? Of course, he's playing with Bronny, and it's going to be interesting to see if LeBron's just going to go full force playoff mode. It is insane what he's been able to do throughout his NBA career. But when you get to the postseason, we might see a different level of that. Luka going back and just trying to get some revenge. The thing I like about the West, and not to get too far away from the Sixers because they're way out of the playoff picture. They're in tanking mode right now in the tankathon and the reverse standings. But the thing I like about the West is that it's a lot more competitive, especially when you look at that top 4, right? Because the Nuggets, Jokic is going to perform in the playoffs. LeBron is going to perform in the playoffs. Now he has Doncic right next to him as well. The Clippers also a team, that could probably get hot. They're going to be having a tough time in terms they got to go through the play-in if they end up in 7th and then play, the number 2 or the number 1 seed. But at the same time, I think the Western Conference playoffs might surprise some people. I think it's going to be really, really good, a lot of talent. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. And I'm looking forward to seeing Oklahoma City. I do have them as a favorite, and I will stand by that because I think they continue to show what they can do. But you raise a great point in the sense of you're having a lot of guys that have been there, have experience, are going to play them hard. So it's not going to be an easy out or an advancement by any means in the Western Conference too. So we'll see. We saw a lot of good things from their bench last night, but Philadelphia, once again, they get dismantled by OKC 133-100. We'll turn things back to the 76ers in just a moment, kind of look at those reverse standings for Philadelphia and maybe a little bit of updates that we might see coming into Friday without looking too far ahead. So we'll touch on that on the other side right here on Locked On 76ers. Before we get to that, we have to tell you about Upwork. Scaling your business requires that right expertise and right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. Finding the right talent. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivered incredible results. Fast and easy hiring. Posting a job is free and simple, and within a day with multiple qualified candidates to choose from. cost-effective growth. Instead of hiring full-time, Upwork helps find affordable top-tier freelancers to scale my business efficiently. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com. Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. In addition, we know that the biggest hoops tournament in college basketball is coming your way. It's going to be a great tournament on the men's and on the women's side. So we have a little bit of a bracket breakdown video we want to show you guys as we get ready for college hoops and the biggest tournament of the entire year for college basketball.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
All right, so these reverse standings continue to look upon us here, Keith. The 76ers still tie with fifth with the Knicks at 23 and 46. Now, I'm not saying they're purposely trying to lose because they're just a bad team at this point. You got, a lot of G League guys going out there, guys really trying to fight and play. They're going to lose some of their games. But right now, the 76ers really looking like they're in a good spot to possibly get a top 6 draft pick, which is what they need if they want it to be protected. I'm not saying they're going to get number 1. I know Wizard telling you the future, but there's obviously other players in the draft, and the 76ers are really just trying to stay in that 6th spot, Keith, in the reverse standings.
Yeah, they are. And it may get a little tougher for them just because, Lonnie Walker is supposed to be coming back. Lonnie Walker, just to give people an update real quick, Lonnie Walker is on a trip with the team. He participated in today's shoot around. He has to go through the concussion protocol, but the 76ers are hopeful that he'll be able to play Friday night against the Spurs. So which means is he's been doing the things that he needs to do to be able to play in that game. So, but yeah, the 76ers are basically, holding serve, so to speak. The problem is like, it's probably the way it looks like it's going to come down to the final game of the season, right? And then with that being said, it's like, then you got to go through possible tiebreakers to get it. And then the 76ers are talking about, Tyrese Maxey wants to play. Like, he wants to come back and play. And if he does, what is he going to do? Just, like him and Grimes, like, what's going to happen? So I don't know. I think that it might be best just to shut him down, but he wants to play. So yeah, the 76ers are holding serve, but if I'm them, they would be a whole lot better if they were like number 4 or number 3. And I don't know if they're going to be able to catch that.
Yeah, it might be tough right now for, the people watching us, or if you're listening as well. The Jazz right now at 15 and 54, Wizards at 15 and 52, Hornets at 17 and 51. Then it's the Sixers and the Nets, of course, the Raptors right behind that too. And it's so interesting with Tyrese Maxey. I mean, you're almost putting on the floor 60 total points between Grimes and Maxey that you could give on any given night. Because if we look at the 76ers schedule going forward and what we're going to see here, it's the Spurs, then the Hawks, then you play the Pelicans. They're another team, that doesn't have a great record. Then the Wizards. So if Maxey comes back, Keith, I mean, he's going to be able to at least get a 30-piece or 25-plus in these games. And that might win the 76ers some games, or it should win the 76ers some games against those other teams, because the Wizards, I think they're really trying to fight for that number 1 spot in the reverse standing. So if you're Philadelphia, if it's not going to be an issue with the NBA overall, and if they're not going to investigate, I would shut Tyrese down, because at this point, I don't want to say that he could hurt them, because I think Tyrese wanted to come back, play basketball. I think that's great. But if he comes back and they win some games, that will hurt Philadelphia, because then they're kind of in this middle ground where it's not looking too good.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. I mean, we'll see exactly how it goes. So we'll get a better idea.
That we will, and we'll keep you guys updated as well on the availability of Tyrese Maxey in addition to that. 76ers fall 133-100, getting dismantled by the Oklahoma City Thunder on a night where they were extremely shorthanded as well. Well, thank you guys all so much for tuning in to this edition of Locked On 76ers. For Keith Pompey, I'm Kayla Santiago saying so long, and we'll see you guys next time.